up, idols? It's CC3. Welcome back to my channel. So this video is done with quite haste. It's going to be really short, but it's a really important update that I think people need to know about what's going on right now in Korea for foreigners. So got nap head. I just woke up. I was up all night and I saw people on Instagram posting screenshots and translations of this new mandate or whatever that requires foreigners working in Seoul, Jeollanam, and Gyeonggi-do so far to get tested for COVID. This is despite whether they do or do not have symptoms for COVID, whether they've traveled outside of Korea or not, whether they've been exposed to someone who has it or not. Because they're a foreigner, they're required to get tested for COVID, foreign workers. And I hadn't heard any of my teacher friends talking about it, so I didn't think it was true until one of my friends said, yeah, she has to go get tested. And then one of my other friends just posted on her story about it. So I'm like, okay, so this is really happening. And the reason this is so messed up is because I used to work in Korea. So I know that they're not gonna get the day off. It's not like, you know, when you believe you've been exposed to someone who has COVID, you're supposed to isolate yourself and quarantine until you get your results. They're not gonna give them that time here. I guarantee they're gonna have them either get tested in the morning, on the weekend, after work, sometime that doesn't affect their work schedule, and then still have to go back to work and potentially expose the people they work with. This is a problem because people who, again, they've been working in Korea for more than 10 years, 5 years, never left the country since they came here, no symptoms, not exposed whatsoever, and now they're being told they have to test for it because they're a foreigner. And these testing sites have been reported to be overly crowded, poorly managed, no social distance, and just chaotic. And if you refuse to do this, then you will have to pay a 3 million won fine, which is like 2,900 US. Now, I wanted to make this video because I want people to talk about this, and I'm gonna leave a link in the description to the petition. Like I said, I just heard about this about 12 hours ago. I didn't know it was true then, but now it seems like it actually is true. So I don't know a lot yet. I'll try to update the situation in the comments. But yeah, I wanted to share the petition, make sure people are talking about this, because we've seen, unfortunately, we've seen dumb people do dumb stuff when they're afraid. We've seen incidences rise in America against Asian Americans because of all of this. We've heard about China trying to shift the blame to it being an American-born thing. Like, it was started in Maryland. That's like the theory circulating in China right now. We've heard the stories about China forcing foreign nationals to do the butt thing for the test. Seems like Korea's hopping right on the bandwagon of forcing foreigners to get tested for COVID just because they're foreigners. This is not a good look. This is really disappointing. I really didn't think this was true. I don't know who thought this would be a good idea or who thought it would be necessary. Like I said, so far it's only Seoul, Gyeonggi-do, and Jeollanam province. I'm not sure if this is going to expand. I don't know if it's going to be retracted, but I wanted to talk about this now because there's a tight window. It was from March 8th and it's until March 22nd, I believe. Now, my situation, I totally get it. I came in here, I'm a tourist. I totally understand making it mandatory for us to quarantine because I came from a hot spot, America. Like, it is the hub of the outbreak right now. That makes all the sense in the world. But to make people who have been living and working here, following the rules, no symptoms, no problems, no exposure because they're foreigners is ridiculous, and it's really disappointing to see. And the way contact tracing works so far, I've only seen one incident of a potential infection. So my friend I'm not gonna say her name. My friend goes to the gym every morning. She goes before people show up. So we were out and she got a call because you have to sign in. You have, everywhere you go, you show like a QVC code on your phone, or if you're like me, you don't have a Korean phone number, you write in your like login, you write a friend's number, you write the time you got there, you write your temperature, you write the region you live in, and if someone who visited that place around the same time as you has been exposed, then you get a call saying you got to get tested. So one person at my friend's gym tested positive, so they called her and said you got to get tested. So while she waited to get tested, she did her classes virtually, but then got tested negative and went right back to work the next day. I don't know if you guys know this, but just because I test negative today doesn't mean I don't have it, you know? So for example, say it's Tuesday and I went to a cafe and someone tested positive for it. I'll get a call telling me, hey, you need to get tested. So I'll go the next day because you have to go as soon as possible. Now, I could test negative Wednesday and that's all good and well and get back to my normal life, but I might still develop symptoms later because it takes, what, like 7 to 10 days for symptoms to appear now? This is not a good look. This is a really dangerous situation because I've worked in Korea. They don't do sick days. They don't do off days. You do not get holidays and sick days very often in this country. So they're gonna be in these crowded, not socially distanced facilities to be tested because it's mandatory now, and then have to go right to work not knowing whether they've exposed themselves or not. So there's this article by the Korea Times, and I'm reading right from the article. I'll leave this article linked in the description box below, just so you guys can get an idea of how hectic the testing sites are, because there's only a 2-week window for foreigners to get tested. A U.S. citizen living in Bucheon said, "I arrived at the testing site at 9 a.m. Saturday, half an hour before it opened, but the area was already packed. I waited in line for over 2 hours, during which it seemed that nobody was following social distancing measures." Another foreign resident pointed out that the center was understaffed. Only 2 officials were registering the visitors, causing a big holdup in the line. "I expected that the government would have been aware of the large increase in the number of people going to the testing centers with the mandatory order in place, but apparently there was no preparation for it." Just so you guys can get an idea of what these testing facilities are like, because again, they're not going to let people go during work hours, so people are probably going to flood to these places on the weekends, and that's when it's going to be really crowded and potentially dangerous and cause an outbreak. If this whole thing doesn't scream foreigners are infected to you, then I don't know what it says, because they're literally saying, "Oh, you're Korean? Don't worry about it. You're foreigner? You got to get tested." I'm really disappointed in humanity. I don't understand this isolation and treating each other differently based on paranoid, petty, stupid, unfounded fear and assumptions and stereotypes. I don't understand. I don't know, like that just kind of gives me this unwelcomed vibe towards foreigners. That literally is like foreigners are the infected, foreigners are the problem. And again, I understand if it's like for a new hire situation or like people visiting, I totally understand it. But if they've been living here and working here, not problematic, not exposing themselves, not exposing nobody, not being around it, no symptoms, why now? Why are you saying, "Oh yeah, y'all gotta get tested because you're foreigners"? Koreans disregard, foreigners, you gotta get tested. I wanted to talk about this. I want people to talk about this. I want people to be aware of this because this is not okay. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Annyeong.